Hi there. You're watching Pop Culture Warrior. This is the way.
Broadcasting live from the basement of the Pentagon. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Hey, everybody. Welcome, one and all. Today is December 3rd. It's Christmas time, 2024, and this is episode 188 of Pop Culture Warrior. It's the show where I stay up to date on all the ins and outs of what's happening in pop culture, so you don't have to. I am CQ, but you know that already. But what you might not know is who's joining me tonight. He is one of our beloved co-hosts. He is the man in the bubble for tonight. He is the kidult himself, ladies and gentlemen. Angry Elf! Woo! How you doing, buddy?
Back.
He's back.
What's going on?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's been a long. I just realized this. It's been a long time since you and I were together on a show, but it hasn't been that long since I was on a show.
You've
what's going on
hosted
here?
more shows than I have in the last month and a half, 2 months even, for sure. And we appreciate you. Thank you for your service. We appreciate you, sir.
Am I taking over? Am I about to become the? No, I'll give that honor to Mad Mike. I'm not taking over.
No Magic Mike tonight. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. They're already clamoring for Mad Mike in the chats. Mad Mike is recovering. He was on vacation and he partied a little too hard, so he's recovering tonight. But
He had one too many crowns on vacation.
Oh man, so much to talk about. First off, thank you for tuning in, whether you're tuning in on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on everything. God love you. We appreciate you. I got people on Kick tuning in. I got people on TikTok tuning in. Scotty says, "I
Blue
like
Sky yet?
Wait, Blue Sky. You know what? We're gonna set that up. We're gonna set that up. Blue Sky Social is like the new big thing from the makers of the original Twitter. We'll set up an account. The thing is, it doesn't have streaming capabilities yet. So once we can stream on that, we'll stream on that too. I'll stream everywhere, man. We're live on OnlyFans, on Grindr, on yellowpages.com. We're live everywhere. Everywhere you can be live, we're live. There's an AOL messenger board somewhere just lighting up. Pop Culture Warriors live. Thank you guys for joining in. I see Kaz over there on Instagram. Thanks, baby. Thanks for joining. Angry Elf, did I see you on the hub? Oh, hey, oh. Mad Mike looks gayer. I think that's a diss at you, isn't it though? Like, isn't that?
No, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, I guess
it's fine. Scotty
it's
had
fine.
he said, I mentioned that. I said, you might not know who he is, but like he literally hosted most of the shows for the last 2 months. Yeah, well, Start giveaway chance. Let's go. Giveaway, giveaway, giveaway. I know y'all are here. All of a sudden, everybody's here early. All of a sudden, everybody's here on time because I might be doing giveaways. Did I hear? Is that this just in? Breaking news? Are we doing giveaways tonight? Is that happening?
No, we did the giveaways before the show.
Yes, unfortunately. Yeah, sorry.
They were all done in the green room.
You just missed it. Oh, you just missed it. Sorry about that. No, we're definitely giving the giveaways. In fact, I wanted to do something different and interesting and keeping it fresh and on your toes. So I'm going to go back and look. And the first comment on today's stream, first non-show affiliated comment, that person has already won a prize. So if I go back, that's going to be Anubis 503 who said ho ho ho. And Edward, man, you missed it by like 30 seconds. He had thrown in a hello all, and Jim was a minute later. So Anubis 503, you are the first winner of the season of giving. Yeah. So excited.
So what did you win? Your boxer shorts?
The used boxer shorts. You know.
Yes.
Yes.
I forgot the key word there. Used.
Used. Okay. No. So as you can see, I have a large pile of stuff over there. I have a large pile of stuff over here. And here, let me zoom out my camera for the audience. There's more stuff over there. So yeah. He's gonna get to pick what he wants. This is I need to clear house so much for what's coming. Wink, wink, surprise, surprise. That I'm gonna let winners, multiple winners, pick what they want. And as long as you're willing to cover the shipping costs, it's a free-for-all. It's an absolute free-for-all. So the first winner's out there. Stay tuned. Shortly we'll have another winner, and we'll be going with that. Let me catch up on some of these comments. Phil says, be careful on Blue Sky. Apparently it's easy as fuck to get yourself banned on that platform. Okay. I mean, I watched him enough to recognize him. Everyone's here on time because you're finally back. Oh, I love it. I love it.
Wait, you mean he's not busy going off and seeing a movie while he's supposed to be doing a show?
Yes. Jim says, woohoo, CQ is going to fly to your house, take a bath, so you have a tub of Gamer Boy bath water. Okay. Can we pick your other middle finger? That is not one of the prizes available. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. That is not in the cards. I gotta fix all these cables are like, anyway, whatever. ADHD, it's a bitch. So sell that shit on eBay. That's what it's here for. What else we got here? Okay. Also, we didn't really promote it, but I've been sitting on an interview for a while. We're going to air it tonight. It's with the incredible Jordan Mechner. Name probably doesn't ring a bell. He was the original creator of Prince of Persia, that awesome video game that like debuted on like the Apple II and has lasted to today. There's still a new one that just came out, a couple months ago. And he was involved with the series up until a few years ago. It's a great interview. I really enjoyed my conversation with him. Obviously, it's pre-recorded because I'm going to look very different for that interview. So it's startling difference. But it's a great interview, and I just want to put it out there and let people see it because it's such a great one. So we'll air that tonight at the 9 o'clock hour Eastern. But what do you guys out there? When you're what's up? What are you seeing out there? Are you what's up with the pop culture out there? I want to hear the people. I want to hear what the people say. What are you liking? What are you not liking? What are you into? What are you seeing? What are you waiting for? Let us know. I wanna get a pulse of the people. Now, while they do that, um, the
I'm
people,
still alive.
not the minions, not the bitches. I want
Oh, bitches, huh?
the bitches. Uh, uh, One thing. Also, this week we do have FTX. I want to promote that. You got to tune in, man, and watch. We have so much fun playing these just ridiculous games, and we got I got like 4 new games to play. So it should be a lot of
Speaking
fun.
about FTX, remember
Yes.
how when I was there we played Munchkin?
Yes.
Remember we went on eBay and we looked at that all-inclusive Marvel Munchkin? Remember it was like
Yes.
300 something dollars?
Yes.
I liked it and I've been following it. I think it's down to 230. Let me check.
Did you check for like Black Friday sales?
No. Yeah, no, it's down to 235. That's the entire thing. Plus
I
the
mean, I just need the one
Deadpool and the
card.
pro.
Just need the one
You just
card.
need the Infinity Gauntlet,
I
right?
just need the Infinity Gauntlet. That's the only thing. I mean, the Deadpool card's cool, but it's a bit silly. We wouldn't ever use it because it's like a tear this card to use it kind of thing. It's kind of
Yeah.
dumb.
I mean, I just think it's funny that I want to keep watching this thing and see if it'll go down even further.
I mean, I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised to see how far it does go down. But yeah, I mean, you never know. You never know with these things. You never know. What else? So it's there are some things that I don't want to talk about yet, but I'm very excited for come 2025, come January. The only thing I'll say is here at Pop Culture Warrior, we're doing something of sort of revitalization. I don't want to get too much into it, but like the theme is new, so I'm just gonna leave it there. It's just new and what
You're getting boobs. You're getting boobs.
no, no. I'm not getting boobs. But I'm very excited to you know, I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil it. There's just stuff. Um, what's going? Oh, so we were just talking about it before we got on air, but so Star Wars Skeleton Crew came out. I haven't seen it yet. I was busy today. You haven't
I was
seen
too
it
busy
yet.
today. I thought it was
So
coming out on Wednesday.
so apparently it dropped early. That was the thing. Apparently it dropped early. Um,
Oh,
so Scotty says Audible has a site-wide sale, been getting a lot of books at 80% off. Okay. Okay.
oh,
Rock on. Good scales. Yeah. Let's talk about like the whole Black Friday and Cyber Monday shit. What's going on? What's going on? Because two things. A, the sales were shit. There really weren't
oh yeah.
good sales. Uh,
No.
I love how they like mark shit up a month out. So that way when they drop it 50%, it's like, dude, it's like $5 less than what you had it marked for a month ago.
Yep.
Secondly, I remember a time. We're gonna show our age now, folks. Who remembers a time when Black Friday happened after Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
And you had to be at the store's opening at like 6 a.m. And
6 a.m. Sometimes it was like 4.
but here's my point. Originally, you were camped out overnight for the doors to open at a regular time on Friday. Then stores started saying, well, let's squeeze in a little bit more. Let's open it 2 hours earlier. And then it was another 2 hours earlier. And then eventually it was like 1 in the morning. And then one year it was like, fuck it, just Thanksgiving night at midnight, we're going. And then all of a sudden it became starting Thursday at like 3 p.m. This year, Black Friday sales started the week before. And I'm like,
Some places was like earlier than that.
what the fuck, man? Like, it's crazy. Uh, and like some places are still like, well, it's Tuesday, but we're still Cyber Monday. I'm like, this shit is spreading to the point that in a decade from now, it's going to be like, hey, man, fucking, you ready for Black Friday? And it's like February, like it's gonna creep closer and
Yeah.
closer to the point where it's gonna be back on Fridays the year prior. It's like we're gonna be
Right.
in Black Friday of 2026 now, and come Thanksgiving. But anyway, I just, man,
Well, you're right. Some of the sales were shit. Um, I was down in Florida and we went Black Friday. I mean, after late morning, uh, around, and it was just. I mean, nothing was exciting. Um, I didn't care about any. I wasn't out. I got one thing, but it was like all because I bought something else for my wife. It wasn't like I was sitting there waiting for Black Friday to go get it. It was like, yeah, whatever, you know. Yeah, these sales do suck now.
I like it. Scotty said you had to start Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training in August to prepare yourself for Black Friday back in the day. Shit was wild.
Yeah, you did.
Yes, yes, you did. Captain Wayne, I guess answering my early question, says a lot of streaming platforms are just garbage now. TV sucks too. Music, all garbage. As far as I've seen, blah blah blah. Oh, and E Dog Musk is trying to buy Hasbro, which is not going to be good for a whole lot of things. Agreed on all points. Edward says, I'm looking forward to a new fight night, whether they make it or not. Also, the same with Ace Combat. Yes. Yes, for both. I loved Fight Night and I loved Ace Combat. Yes, for both.
Yeah, we need
Why,
another Ace Combat.
why they'll make, I'm trying to think of a game, that just doesn't need, they're going to make Farming Simulator 2025, but
Right.
they don't make a new Ace Combat. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Either.
Captain Way, who wants to watch Christmas and Valentine's commercials for 6 months? Yes, it's all true. It's all true, all of it. So yeah, where was I getting at? The sales were not good, man. I bought, I needed. I gotta be careful what I'm saying. For the season of new that's coming, I needed some things, so
Right.
I was able to purchase them at a somewhat discount. $20 off. I mean, not much of a crazy sale. If my veteran discount is almost the same as your big sale, like that's not great.
Oh,
So there was that. What else did I get? Not this year. Not really anything. I'm trying to think. I bought some video games on like were downloaded or whatever. There were some sales.
I didn't even do that.
Eh, it was disappointing, disappointing, disappointing. That's all I can say. Disappointing.
It
Um,
was disappointing.
I don't know what happened, man. I don't know what happened. If
I
if
guess people just don't care anymore. I mean, because you
people,
can't, I mean,
meaning companies,
well,
because
that
I
too.
feel like it's
I
the
mean,
companies that are doing this. You
well,
know,
yeah. No, I mean, but it's just like you end up like it just doesn't come. I don't know. There's just no. I kind of feel like everybody's in a funk right now.
yeah, yeah.
Everybody, and
Ever since
and
COVID,
it's
man.
not. Well, yeah, for the last couple years, but you know, nothing's exciting, nothing's new. Everything kind of feels, eh, you know, like what am I excited for right now?
Let's see.
The fact that I have to think like that, you know,
Patrick
um,
says, since stores got rid of physical media, I couldn't even get a handful of Blu-rays for $4.99. Susan said, I think it was for some really large playset house. Really some large playhouse for my oldest daughter and other toys. So I guess she bought toys. Um, I mean, yeah. Turn this down. This seems really bright. There we go. So yeah, that's weird. Yeah, it's just weird. Um, Scott wants to know what games did you get? I got a bunch of random stuff. Really, a bunch of random stuff. Mad Max that came out a while ago.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
played that when that came out. That game is great.
great game. A lot of fun. A lot of
Yeah,
fun. I just wasn't gonna pay $70 for it. I got it for like $4.99. Like I looked at whatever was like on the deepest discount, and I just started adding to like my back catalog for when I'm bored. So I got like
yeah.
Gas Station
In fact,
Simulator, Mad Max. What else? Oh,
in, in fact,
what's
speaking
up?
of talk about Mad Max.
Yeah,
No, I just looked back. I bought it physical from GameStop, and I got a little Matchbox car of the Mad Max car.
nice.
Oh, sorry, sorry.
The was it the Magnum Opus, something like that. I think was the name of the car.
Yeah,
Maximus
yeah. I
Opus
could
or
I
something
could
like that.
stand up and grab it, but I'm not going to. But
Yeah.
yeah, the little that was so much fun. And I was upset when I lost my game progress, my saves, because I
Yeah.
wanted to go back, but I did 100% that game, so I don't care.
Yeah.
Anyways, I distracted you.
No,
You
no, no.
mentioned Mad Max, I got
The
excited.
thing, no, yeah, and there was an online component. This tells you how old this game is. There was an online
Yeah,
component to it that when I bought it, it literally said like, "Warning: the servers have been shut off." Like you can play the game, but all the online parts of it are null and void. Which is just funny to me because it didn't need an online component to begin with. But you know, they do these things. But no, that's been fun. I'll tell you what. Not a new game, but something that I played that I fell in love with. Let me see how old this game is. Yeah, like wildly highly rated, which is funny because I'd never heard of it until it literally
yeah,
popped up on my thing. So yeah, it came out in 2021, was the initial release, but it just ended up on the Xbox Game Pass. It's called Inscription. If you've got an Xbox, if you've got a PC, I highly recommend it. So basically, I'm gonna
yeah.
nerd out here for a second. It's it's hard to put this game in a box because on its face, it is a deck builder. Like Pokemon or Magic or any of these deck builder
Right,
games. You're collecting cards to make the best deck to fight opponents. But it's much more than that. It's part puzzler, part
mhm,
escape room, part narrative driven. Uh, you can't. Every time you think you've got this game figured out, a twist
right.
happens and it turns everything on its head, and it's just a wild. I enjoyed every second of that game, even to the point. Well, I'm not really. I don't think I'm spoiling anything, but you will get to the end of the game and you will
Right.
be like, I did it, I'm done. And then the game completely changes and it's not what it was. And
Oh,
I don't want to,
I
I don't want to, Scott says, is there co op or PvP? Not that I'm aware of because it is a story game that you're playing through from start to finish. I will say this though, because it's not really a spoiler thing, but uh, so you're playing this game, and if you lose, you were killed.
right,
Like you're playing the card game, you the person playing the card game. If you lose, you are killed, and that person is gone, and you are now a new person. And imagine, if you will, you can't really see it, but imagine like a pile of dead bodies on the side of the bed. Like that's kind of, so like the game starts over while also continuing, if that makes sense, right? Because you are a new
right,
person playing and trying to win this. Imagine like a Saw, situation where it's like you want to play a game and like you have to win to survive.
right.
So if you lose, you die, and then it's like the next person is stepping in and you are the new person. And then you will see figments of past play. Dude, it's so wild. It's such a wild game. Oh man. It's just it's I enjoyed that. I enjoyed it so much because like every time you think you got your finger on it, and it's like it throws you another curveball, and you're just like, what is this game? But yeah, highly recommend it if you're into games and story games, and it's like I said, on its face, it's a deck builder, but that is merely a facade. And what
Yeah.
it is really is much, much deeper than that. And man, it's good. It's just really good. It's like I played that like 2 games ago, and I still think about it just because of how good it was. Um, anyway, we're talking a lot about games tonight, which I think works well because we've got Jordan Mechner coming on to talk
Yeah.
about games and stuff. Um, let's see what else. What else do we have to talk about? Oh. Sorry, let me just read your chats here. Toys R Us Black Friday years ago I'm sure that was crazy. I'm gonna build
Yeah.
a TV out of sticks in the woods. Okay. This year there's no elf on the shelf. It's just an elf in yourself. Oh,
Ooh.
gross. Toys R Us still does
Ooh.
exist over in a very small corner of Macy's up on the 3rd floor. It's not the same though. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Go to Canada. Go to good old Canada.
Canada's got them.
Yeah, Canada. They've never left Canada. They're still up
Blame
there.
Canada. Blame
Yeah, pretty
Canada.
much. No, I'm sorry. I think a let me go let
Oh,
me go check. I think a brick and mortar Toys R Us reopened in the United States recently.
let's say that. And I think I saw somewhere there was a Best Buy that opened. Or not Best Buy. My God, what am I talking about? Blockbuster. That's what I was trying to say. Blockbuster. I think they reopened a Blockbuster, which is hilarious to me. Um. Oh, I don't know if you saw this, but
Yeah.
Craven, that movie we're all super excited to see, comes out in about a
Yeah.
week. Uh, it people must be so excited to see it that here we are a week ahead of its release, and the company behind it, Sony, has released the first 8 minutes of the movie online. You can see it right now. You can literally go online
No.
and see it. Um,
No.
I don't care how good your movie is. If you're having to be like, look, here, look at it, a couple minutes of it for free, that tells me you have no confidence that people are going to see this movie.
Correct.
You know, obviously they may be looking at the pre-sales and all these other things, but my God, you, anytime in the history of ever when we've seen companies just so desperate, uh they it's never for a good reason. um and of course the press tour is out for it right now, and the director's doing a bunch of interviews, and he's, I mean, oh, like they say all the right things. Like he's like, we tried to be faithful to the core of the character, while also making it so
Right.
that people that have never read a thing about Craven can still enjoy the movie, knowing nothing about him. It's like, how do you make a movie where you don't have to know anything about him while also paying homage to his like 80-year history? You
Yeah.
can't do both. You
Nope.
can't. It's not possible. It's like I'm going to stand really tall while also remaining really flat to the ground. And it's like you physically can't do both of those things.
Nope.
Hey, Pete. Pete says hi. Um,
Hello.
I just, and
I
then
don't
he's,
know.
go ahead. I'm
No, I was gonna
frustrating
say
myself.
I this movie has no interest. I mean,
uh,
it's worse in my opinion, it's worse than Venom series, and it's worse than Morbius. Um,
I was out the second they showed a, and we didn't see much of it. It was like the first trailer when they show, like, because they said, oh, Chameleon's gonna be in it and Rhino's gonna be in it. I was like, all right, this is interesting. We'll see what they're building.
Right.
But when they showed the clip of what I would assume is the Rhino morphing into Rhino or mutating into Rhino, I'm like, I'm out. I'm
Yep.
out. I'm out. We're doing the thing. I can't, man. I can't. It's man.
I mean, villains fighting villains. I mean, give me a break.
I want it to be, but there's a history of villains fighting villains and heroes fighting villains, or heroes fighting heroes.
Yeah,
I
true.
just I don't know, man. I think they're missing the point of these characters, and they're missing the point of why the characters. So they're taking characters that have been, look, Venom, Morbius, Craven have all been at some point in their runs anti-heroes, right? Or
Yeah.
they've skirted the law and been on the good side of things. But what made those characters compelling to be on the good side was having decades of them being villains. That it was the turn. That's why we got invested in Venom and Craven and Scorpion changed for a little while, and like all these characters, Sandman, like we were invested in them because like, oh, they're villains, and then they came to the light. But if you just come out and you're like, I'm just a bad boy and I kill people for good reasons, and it's like we're not invested in you. We're not. You're just an
Yeah.
asshole. You're just an asshole. And again, let's be honest. 60% of what made these characters enjoyable in the first place is the fact that Spider-Man's in the same scenes with them. You know what I mean? And you remove that, it's like I like ketchup and mustard on my hot dog, right? But if you just gave me a bowl of ketchup and mustard, I would not enjoy it. Okay? And I think that's what Sony is doing. It's just pouring ketchup and mustard into a bowl and being like, Spider-Man universe, enjoy. And it's like, no. Spider-Man's the hot dog, man. You gotta have the hot dog. You gotta. Anyway.
So when do you think Craven will go on demand?
So let's see. It comes out December 7th, December 15th. It's on demand. I want to say a
that
week and a
sounds fun.
half. Week and a half, I think. I think they.
I was gonna.
Look, this was it. I think they go opening weekend.
Yeah.
It goes badly. They try to double down on weekend 2. Does not work. And then they go to streaming. I think that's what they do.
I was
Joseph
gonna say
says,
Christmas, but
that's Chris. No. Joseph says it made sense for the villains in the previous Spidey movies to come around to be non-villains because we've had decades to know and see them. But Sony is just jumping into good guy, bad guys because they don't own any other heroes to play with. Yeah.
no, they don't.
I mean,
They really don't.
Captain Wayne says, I haven't seen a movie trailer or a new show in a while that is actually good and have all the streaming platforms. Yeah. I'm
Quite a
trying to think.
while.
I'm trying to think, and honestly, because I dabble in all the streaming services, the last good stuff I've seen is mostly on Amazon Prime, right? That's your
Yep.
Fallout, that's your The
Yep.
Boys, Invincible, The Last of Us, that was HBO Max. I want to say Apple TV.
Oh, Apple does good stuff.
It
No.
is hit or miss, but there's good stuff there.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. The last good thing that came out was the Penguin.
The Penguin was very good.
Penguin was very good.
Penguin was very good, and I liked Agatha all along. I was pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed Agatha all along. I liked it. I did. I For what it is, I liked it. But yes, the Penguin was incredibly good, which actually got me more excited for Batman 2,
Yes,
which I wasn't
agreed.
necessarily excited for to begin with. Like I was like,
No,
whatever. But now I'm genuinely excited. Um, which it's weird. Side tangent because ADHD. Uh,
yeah,
the There's a clip, right? You've seen the Penguin talking like the Penguin, and you see Colin Farrell talking like Colin Farrell. But there was this clip of him, like I guess the final wrapping of the season. He's still in full, like they did the last shot, and then he's talking to
yeah.
the cast and crew, but it's Colin Farrell's voice coming out of the Penguin, which is just very unsettling. Very, very unsettling. It's don't I implore you, don't look for it because it's weird. Which, like,
Um,
logically we know it's
yeah.
him in there, but when you hear his voice coming out of the Penguin, it's just weird. Very weird.
We were
Yeah.
s- we were asking what are we looking forward to? I am looking forward to What If season 3,
What if season 3? Yeah. Yep.
and I
Yep.
like the fact that they're dropping them like they did last year, the week of Christmas, one
Yeah.
episode a day for what? 8 episodes, 8 days?
I thought it was like 5 or 6, but yeah, something like that. Um, I'm a little disappointed because I heard this is like this is the last season. They're done. Because I thought
Yeah.
there was some good storytelling. I thought there were some fun premises. I
You
like that
know,
they brought back voice actors from the MCU. But yeah,
but the thing of it is, and this has always been the thing with What If, you could go on forever with What If.
yeah,
I mean, look at that. I used to love reading the comic, and I got disappointed. What was it, over a decade ago? They stopped the regular monthly issues, and they only
yeah.
do specials every once in a while.
And here's the interesting thing about that. I feel like What If is at its strongest when it's an anthology series. It's an unconnected,
Yeah,
just series of events. And good for them. They tried to do it narratively where they made separate episodes, but then tied them all together.
right,
And what I think ended up happening is then that kind of hamstrung them for season 2, where they had to kind of keep that story going.
right,
Um, with this kind of like it reminds me of a lot of like MCU season 1, where like each movie was its own thing with only mild hints of another thing, and then Avengers
right,
came and it was all together. That was season 1 of What If, but then season 2 was kind of like, phase 2 and 3 of the Marvel universe, where it was all kind of a mess. um
right.
so like you said, I think they could do this ad nauseum infinity, uh uh with stories that have nothing to do with each other, and they don't have to create
Yeah,
this overarching narrative. Just make wild, crazy stories,
and
um yeah.
it would be what would even be better is I would still watch it if they took the quality of the animation down a little bit, right?
Hmm.
And then dropped it as shorts on, I don't know, social media someplace or YouTube or whatever, but dropped it as shorts like once a week. You don't even have to bring back the voice actors from the MCU. I wouldn't be upset, but if were telling stories, I mean, the only good thing that's coming out of this with season 3 being the end of it is they're doing Marvel Zombies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I think it's a continuation of that one episode from
Yeah. Well,
season 1.
technically 2. I think they popped up in 2 episodes. But yeah, yeah. It's a continuation of that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Scotty says, I feel like HBO either has bangers or flops, nothing in between. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree. And I feel like, honestly, I feel like a lot of no, most of the streaming services are like one banger for like 10 flops. Whereas, yeah, HBO's like 50-50. Apple Plus is, I think, slightly better than 50-50. And then Amazon Prime is like, it's rare that they have just a bust. Like Apple TV, Severance, I really like. Um, Silo, season 2 of Silo just came out. I really
yeah.
enjoyed. I mean, the movies are good. They've got a lot.
Raw.
Uh, Rain. I don't know if you ever saw Rain. That is one of
No.
the trippiest fucking shows you can watch. I was so disappointed that they ended it after one season. It's an animated series about uh, imagine space travel, but something happens and they have
Hmm.
to abandon ship and they land on this planet, and like so there's like it's only like 6 survivors, but they're all scattered around this planet, and so you're the story is jumping to like each of these people, and it's so wild that they might as well all be on separate planets. Like one's in like a
Right.
frozen tundra, and one's in a forest, and one's in a and like all their and then obviously it's a very like towards the end of the season, it's them coming together to kind of get out of there. But great series. Super super bummed that they only did the one season, but animation, man, it's tough. It's tough to get people excited
Yeah.
about it.
Well,
Let's see.
speaking of animation, did you ever watch Terminator Zero off of Netflix?
No, but I heard such good things about it. It was on my to watch. I haven't been on Netflix in a while, man. Shit. I gotta get back on
It
Netflix.
it is. I will tell you this. I went into it interested because it's Japanese animation. Um, but it was pretty good. Like
Really?
um
I heard great things about it. I really did. I heard a lot
like
of good things
yeah,
about it.
and there's some voice actors like Timothy Olyphant was in there as the Terminator, and then oh darn it, Rosario Dawson, she was in there as the AI. And I don't want to give
Is
away too
there a
much.
franchise that she is not a part of? Because I feel like she's just in all the universes at this point. Like,
I don't
is
think has she done Star Trek?
I don't know, maybe not. I'm
She
thinking
may
of
not, but
Zoe Saldana did Star Trek. Yeah,
well,
yeah.
yeah, but Rosario Dawson's right there next to her. She's done Star Wars.
Hmm.
She's done Marvel because she
Yeah,
was in the Netflix Marvel stuff.
she's in
Um,
the View Askew universe,
yep, yep. She's
SpongeBob
in a couple.
universe. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's in
she's all.
everything.
Yeah, it's good. We need people. We need more. And she's like one of those ones that's like legitimately like, I like this stuff. That's why I want to be in the movies.
Yes,
And she's it's like
she's
another
sweet
actress,
too, man.
Katie Sackhoff.
Oh yeah, she's in so much. Let me read a couple comments. I don't want people to think I'm not
Sure.
listening. Joe says, "Tell me why Dune Prophecy is so boring for having such a deep story. I want to enjoy it, but it's not great." Agreed. Billy says, "Angry Elf is a closet acolyte." Maybe. Edward says, "I think Midnight Suns would be a great." I don't think. I'm trying to think. Midnight Suns. Does Disney have all the rights to all the characters? Spider-Man's in that. I mean, depending on which iteration of the
Wait,
Midnight Suns.
wait. Are
Um,
we talking about the taking the game and turning it into something, or
I'm assuming
are
they
we
meant
talking
the
about?
group Midnight Suns.
I
So
mean,
that would be like Doc Strange,
yep.
Blade,
Blade, Ghost
uh,
Rider.
Ghost Rider. It's all the sorcerer ones. I think Brother Voodoo was in it.
Yeah,
Trying to think, Magic, a couple of others were in the
she
real, and then
wasn't
there
part
was
of
the
it.
game. There was the game part of it, but I think they mean the Marvel Knights is another good one. I would love a really good Marvel Knights. Oh, I think would be
What?
awesome.
But they with the Netflix series they did Marvel Knights, and they did it for the most part very well. It wasn't billed as Marvel Knights. Yes, you're
It's
correct.
Defenders. Yeah, it was the Defenders.
Right, it became the Defenders, but if you went back and looked at who was in the Marvel Knights, the only one that was missing was Spider-Man. But you knew he wasn't gonna show up in that.
Well, no, when I think Marvel Knights, like
Yeah.
original Marvel Knights, we're talking Blade. Blade was part of the team. It wasn't it like Darkhawk? God, people forget about Darkhawk, man. We need Darkhawk to come back.
Well, we
Uh,
do need Darkhawk. I when I think of Marvel Knights, I think of the Punisher, I think of Daredevil,
yes.
I think of Luke Cage, by default, Iron Fist is there,
Yeah.
Misty Knight, and who's the who's her counterpart, her partner?
trying to remember.
She was in the Iron Fist series as his counterpart.
Oh yeah. It's the original Marvel Knights members. So you had Black Widow, Cloak and
Okay.
Dagger,
Yeah.
Morbius, Elektra, Blade, Ghost Rider, The Punisher, Moon Knight, Shang-Chi, Black Knight, and Luke Cage. So a couple of them are defenders,
Yeah.
but I mean, like, look, in that group right there, look, we've had Black Widow, we've had Cloak and Dagger. People forget, but we've had Cloak and Dagger.
Yep.
We
It was
unfortunately
a
have Morbius, Elektra, Blade, Ghost Rider, Punisher, Moon Knight, Shang-Chi, and Black Knight, although hasn't appeared officially, was in that little teaser at the end of
yeah.
Eternals. So we've had all the makings of the original Black Knights. They just gotta pull them all together. But
Here's the thing: if Marvel or if the MCU were to get control of Morbius, a la like how they, you know, Tom Holland Spider Man, do you think they could come back and do a revamp of Morbius and make it not so?
stupid, um,
Yeah.
emo and
I mean, just
sad.
think about it.
I don't think, honestly, this is just me, my opinion. I don't think Marvel is gonna want to touch anything Sony has done outside of Spider-Man. I don't think they're gonna want to touch anything they've done with a 10-foot pole. I think Deadpool and Wolverine was the closest they'll even come to acknowledging the fact that
Yeah.
there were other superhero universes. You know what I mean? Outside of, like, you know, No Way Home, kind of, you know, referencing other Spider-Mans and other universes and things. I don't know. I just think, you know, they had that joke in Deadpool where he's like, you know, where he told Wolverine, you're joining at kind of a low, and he's saying, like, we're done. Let's be done with this multiverse shit. You know, I
Yep.
think, like, that was definitely a little on the nose, and I think yeah. They need a whole Punisher series. Well, I mean, I honestly thought the Netflix series was really good. I
Yeah,
think
we had 2 seasons. It was great.
John Bernthal was a great choice. And he's coming back in the new Daredevil series.
Born again.
Um,
Yep.
so we'll see. We'll see
Hey,
what's up with that.
hey. It's time for another one.
Oh,
It's
oh,
time.
it's
It's time.
time. It's
It's time.
time. Um, I have a question, and we'll do that. We'll do that. But I have a question for the audience. Who out there right now, watching right now, who out there has never won something in the 5 years this show has been? I know there's got to be somebody. There's got to be somebody. Who out there has never won a prize on Pop Culture Warrior? I'd love to know. Captain Wayne says, right on, must have missed it. Oh, man, Captain Wayne, go back and watch. If you missed the Punisher series, worth a watch. Worth a watch. You got to start with Deadpool season 2, I think is when he was
Oh,
introduced.
Daredevil, not Deadpool.
Sorry,
Daredevil.
I said Deadpool. Daredevil season 2 is where his character gets introduced, and then from there they spun off a 2-season series. Worth a watch. Definitely worth a watch.
So yeah, definitely worth. Yeah. In fact, I would just say watch Daredevil, and then when you get done with season 2, watch Punisher, and then come back for the rest of Daredevil.
There you go. Let's see. I figured this was going to spur up some comments. Scott says, who's going to claim pity to be a pity winner? Edward, my daughter hasn't. Well, she's not watching, is she?
Is she?
Captain Wayne, I haven't won anything.
I was
Captain
gonna say
Wayne,
Captain Wayne.
I feel like you've never won any. I feel like you've won something in the past. Mad Mike's never won anything. He's show affiliated. Interesting. I've never won anything from you. Me. All right. So Thon, I know you recently started watching. God bless, man. Thanks for hanging out. I've seen you Captain, I want to say you've won something. I gotta go back and check. I feel like you've won something. Uh, Scott's so good. He's like, if you want to win, join the Patreon like the rest of us. Come on, man. 'Tis the season. It's the season of giving. No Grinches over here, man. We're trying to ho it up. CQ needs that money. First of all, let me just put out a disclaimer here, because I know it's all said in jest and fun, but I promise you, the money that comes into from Patreon does not go into my pockets. I promise you that. It funds all of this shit, Anyway, we won't even get into it's a drop in the bucket compared to how much, you see, I do a lot of traveling, I do a lot of conventions. That stuff's not cheap, man. We got San
It's how
Diego
he
coming up
upgrades.
this year. Mm.
It's how CQ upgrades to first class. It's not that when he
Oh
shows up at the
God.
airport and
I
you know
wish. God.
the stewardess take pity on him because they see one look at him and go, oh yeah, we need to bump him up to first class. No,
Listen, I would love it. I would love it if that were true. And I would own that shit if it were true. I'd be like, yeah, here's a picture of me in first class sipping my champagnes, my champagne. I wish that were true. Listen, I've got like 18 Patreon members, most of them in the $3 tier. You do the math and see how many first class tickets I'm buying. All right.
when he
It's
flies
all
to
love.
San
It's all
Diego,
love.
he'll be chartering his own airplane off
Yes.
that Patreon
You're
money.
going to see when you look up in the sky and you see the CQ logo on the side of a plane, just know that I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all. Get the fuck out of here. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Patrick, each subscription goes directly to Philips Hue Lighting. Govee, baby. Govee. Much cheaper. Much cheaper. Go Govee. Philips Hue, man, they're a ripoff. Govee is the way to go. Yes, Billy, I'd have better tech if I made a bunch of, I'd have a lot better. Wouldn't have so many issues. We were just joking before I went live. I touched something and my computer went boop boop, and I went, "What was that?"
Are we still good?
I was like, "Don't touch anything. I can't touch anything." Um, very hesitant about community. No, first of all, the Patreon membership there's no like you can quit anytime. There's no like contract or anything like that. I'm holding no one hostage. It's just a nice way of how to give back a little bit. But
Yes, he is.
how Patrick, how's that spelled? The Govee is Govee. I want to say. Let me check. I want to say it's Govee. Yeah, I think so. Govee. They make much more different styles. So like they'll have the strips, but they'll have the bulbs, but they'll have the lamps, but they'll have the spotlights. So really whatever you need. Like those are strip lights in the back, but I've also have like floodlights and something else. Oh, and I did like colored light bulbs and things like that. So much cheaper.
What you can't see off camera is CQ, for his OnlyFans, he has a stripper pole, and that's where the rest of his lights are,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
RGB
phenomenal.
stripper pole, so it lights up while
Oh
I'm
yeah.
spinning. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's seeing a live show in person. It was great.
Anyway, all right. So this is what I'm gonna do. There were three of you. Thon, which I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Thon, THANH. And if I'm not, I apologize. Correct me. I'd be happy to say it correctly. Thon, I think is how you say it. Captain Wayne and Susan. Reach out to me, Pop Culture Warrior, DM me, and we will discuss. You are officially now winners of Pop Culture Warrior. There are posters, there are bags, there are toys, there are collectibles. There's a bunch of stuff. I said everybody that wins this month, have whatever you want. I will send you a list of all the things that are available. You can pick and choose. You just got to pay for shipping because Some of the
if you're
items are
close
large.
enough, if you're close enough to drive to the studio, I highly recommend getting a U-Haul and just backing it up.
Back it right up. Back it right up. Uh, he gets about 350 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, let's see, not a problem at all. I've gotten thong before. Oh, it's John, but with a T. So Ton. Oh, okay. Okay, bet. Ton. I like that. Ton. I like that. DM me, not DP. Yeah, don't DP me. DM me, please.
You can do
I've
both.
uh
You can do
hey,
both.
Captain Wayne says any Magic the Gathering cards? You know what? No, but I'll break out my personal stash. I'll fucking throw in some Magic the Gathering cards out of my personal collection. I've got in one of those drawers back there, I have a sealed thing that like I've had for years, including some Secret Lair stuff that I've held on to. So, and if you know, you know. I'll fucking throw those in too. I don't care. I don't care, man. It's the season for giving. Everyone should feel like a winner. Everyone should be happy. Um, so there you
I'm
go.
happy.
There you go. That's already 4 winners tonight. Just like that. Just like that. Greg says I'll fly out if I win. And I'll tell you what. We're gonna go to a break here soon. I'm gonna play the interview, and I'm just gonna tell you at the end of the interview, we're gonna do a live drawing. We're gonna do a classic live drawing. You have to be watching live, unless you're a Patreon, because Patreon members always get in, even if they're not watching live. But if you're watching live, you have another chance to win today. Awesome prize packages. And again, I'm doing something I've never done before, which is I'm letting you pick your own prizes. Never done it before. You either knew what you were winning or you were getting a mystery box, one or the other. I've never let you choose your own prizes before. So, it's on you guys. If you won, you got to reach out to me, and we'll figure out what your prizes are, and we'll figure out the shipping, and I'll send it out this week, and you'll get it in time for Christmas. Yay! So with that, let's toss it to a break. Was there anything else I wanted to talk about? I don't think so. Craven, Star Wars. Oh, real quick, Creature Commandos, which is the first
Oh yeah.
DC product coming out of the James Gunn's universe of DC things, the relaunching of DC. That comes out in 2 days, December 5th. I wish I had gotten early access to it. I didn't. It's one of the few things I haven't gotten early access to. Whatever. It is what it is. I've talked to a few of my insider people who have had access to it, and they are swearing by it. They're saying it's really, really good. And it's, quote, the best possible way to kick off the new DC universe. We'll see. We'll see. It comes out in 2 days. I'll be seeing it, day one, as most of you will be, or most people will be. I'm looking forward to it. In James Gunn, I trust. I believe he can write the reins and right the ship and put DC where it needs to be. I'd love to say, one day be like, hey, remember when DC was trash so long ago and not anymore? I'd love to be able to say that. So we'll see. We'll see how she goes. With that, Gunverse loyalists, yes. Gunverse, absolutely. Susan says, actually, I have a geeky 20-year-old gamer son. Okay, yeah, we'll hook it up. We will hook it up. As for his computer, that one is maybe a step too far. Maybe that
You know
one
what?
is a
Go
step
ahead,
too
ask for his
far.
computer, and this will end. This will end the run of Pop Culture Warrior, and there will be a new Pop
Yeah,
Culture Warrior next week when
you
they get the
guys can
computer set
host.
up, whoever that is.
Yeah, you can host the show from wherever. Like, you are now the host of. Okay, stupid idea. And I'll do it if people actually want it or be interested in it. I had this random thought. I do interviews in that side by side panel. I had this
Yeah.
idea of doing like a still, like a shot, like I'm interviewing somebody, but then doing like the other side, like the green screen, so that people could then put like themselves in it as if I was interviewing them. Like you got interviewed on Pop Culture Warrior. Is that something people would like? Because I'm like, I could do it. I can make the effort to make it a thing. I just didn't know if anybody would
Yeah.
care. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Or have an empty bubble. You could be the co-host of Pop Culture Warrior and you fill in the bubble. Either or, have like a green screen
Or
co-host here or a green screen interview thing here. I don't know.
but
If
your 5th anniversary is coming up, right?
very soon, February 10th. Yep.
What day of the week is February 10th?
I don't know.
Sorry.
Fuck if I know. You expect me to know days? Is it a Tuesday? Close enough.
So you know what you could do?
What's that?
You could do a giveaway or a contest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And have one lucky winner come on and be a co-host for like a segment
Yeah.
or
I feel like that'd be okay, not to push it again, but I think that'd be a great Patreon thing. Like for people
sure.
that actually contribute back to the show, be a way to spotlight. I was doing for a while, I was doing like the spotlight interviews where I was doing like I would ask questions and then post pictures of that
Yeah.
person. I gotta get back to that. I stepped
Yeah,
away
you
from
do.
that, doing a bunch of other things. You're just saying that because now you're in there. Uh, um,
Talking about.
but
I mean,
anyway,
I'm on this show like every third episode now. It's like I'm in the
you're
rotation. It's just,
damn near.
like,
It's like Make a Wish, but a
it's like,
co-host.
oh wait, it's Tuesday. It's the third Tuesday of the month. Yep, I'm up.
Yeah.
I'm up. It's my
Um,
all right.
I was gonna say that this is funny. Another thing I was gonna do is, speaking of new, is I'm relaunching the Pop Culture Warrior merch store, and there's gonna be all new. Like I'm really putting just a shit ton of effort into making some really cool, not just like, and this is obviously a grunt style shirt, whatever, but not just the classic like Pop Culture Warrior logo shirt, but actually shirts that'll be fun to wear. And have silly sayings on them or CQisms or, you know, weird, just a bunch of stuff. You'll see. But so I'm really excited for that. I'm really excited for people to see that. And I want to do a contest where like design your own, whether it's an FTX shirt or a Pop Culture Warrior shirt, design your own shirt, and the favorite one, like I'll make it a real shirt. Like, and I'll order you one. Like I'll make it a real shirt available on our store,
Right.
and then I'll give you one for free. Uh, so I think, I want to see people's creative sides come out, and I want to really spotlight, or maybe it's a thing we do it quarterly or once a year, like, the shirt that you make and put on Pop Culture Warrior, the website, you know, whatever sales it makes, you get the money, or I don't know, something, you get the proceeds. I don't know, something. I want to see what you guys can do. I've been doing it so long. I want to see what you guys can do. See if you think it's so easy. But anyway, sorry, that's a long run on tangent. Patrick says next season, Pop Culture Warrior goes to Congress. You should lobby for films to become public domain the minute a studio uses a film as a tax write-off instead of releasing it. Yeah. That's not a bad idea. Anyway, all right. With that, fuck it. We don't even need a break. We'll just cut straight over to the interview. But
Well,
my man, Angry Elf, I want to thank you for
yeah.
joining. I want to thank you for joining tonight. Thanks for hanging out with
Wait.
us. You're always a
Yeah.
pleasure. We go way back. I appreciate hanging out with you and geeking out with you and
Oh,
nerding
yeah.
out with you, all that. Um,
I-
anything
You,
you've
you talk
got?
about way back. I was telling my daughter on the way home from school today how you and I met.
One day we'll have an episode where we'll do like a story time and we'll swap some old stories, some
Old
20
stories.
plus year stories.
Yes.
Cause there's some doozies between us, man. There's some doozies. I heard you go on another podcast and maybe tell a few stories
Well,
about
I
CQ.
was asked. I was
Uh-huh.
asked, and I had to give a good zinger one.
Putting CQ's business out there. Let's see how it
What
is.
are you
Let's see how
talking
it
about? That
is.
was my business. If I recall correctly, that was my apartment.
Well, not really an apartment. It was like a small house. But either way,
Anyways.
either way, you go find that if you wanna hear the inside gossip.
Yeah.
Edward says I want a sorry about it shirt. Believe it or not, I had those mocked up right around the time that Radar left to go do his own show. Um, but who knows? I'll talk with Radar, man, and if he's cool with it, we'll mock up some sorry about it shirts because I still miss those days. Sorry about it. I still miss those days. God, he was funny. So yeah.
You should have the pop culture logo and the smoke pit logo, kind of crisscrossed.
Like layered, like one's humping the other. All right. Anyway, do you want to say anything to the audience before we kick it over the interview?
Uh stick around because more giveaways coming. And
Good plug.
maybe I'll be here to help. Maybe I won't. I don't know. Otherwise, good night.
Yeah, I like that. Scott's one last thing is release it anyways. It happened on your show. It's your intellectual property. That's
True.
fair. That's fair. I don't know if it'll hold up in a court of law, but that's fair. I appreciate it. All right, guys, I'm going to kick it over to the interview. When it is over, giveaway time. So stay tuned for that. Let's go. Shots. Everybody, welcome back to Pop Culture Warrior. I am your host, CQ, and I'm really excited because my guest today is a visionary storyteller whose impact on the world of gaming, film, and literature spans over 3 decades. He's best known for creating one of the most iconic video games of all time, a groundbreaking title that set new standards for storytelling and animation in the gaming industry and continues to influence game design even still today, 35 years after its release. His career is a testament to creativity and innovation, crossing mediums from video games to screenwriting and now even graphic novels. His work has been recognized not just for its entertainment value, but for the depth of its narratives and the emotional resonance it brings to audiences worldwide. Recently, he has ventured into exploring his own family history in a moving graphic memoir and is also set to release a modern retelling of one of literature's most enduring classics. We don't have nearly enough time to cover it all, but we're going to do the best we can with what we've got while we've got him. Please welcome to the show, everybody, Mr. the incredible Jordan Mechner, everybody. Yay! Raucous applause.
Hi, thanks for
Raucous.
having me on the show.
Wild raucous applause from the audience. They're going nuts for you right now. Thank you, Jordan, for being here, man. I'm super excited. I am a gamer for as long back as I can remember. Since I can remember moving my hands, I had a joystick and was playing video games. And obviously, I mean, the beloved Prince of Persia series, your brainchild, which it's crazy. I can't even imagine from your perspective that all these years later that it's still important. It's still culturally relevant. It's still considered one of like the top 100 games of all time. Like that must be wild for you. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, for sure, that's more than I could have hoped for in 1985 when I started making this game on the Apple II, that it would still even be playable, much less be remembered, so many years later.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, before we dive into all this really cool stuff I want to talk to you about, we always try to get to know our guests a little bit more. We try to get from the angle that we like. We are a military veteran affiliated pop culture podcast and live stream. So first, do you have or what is kind of your military connection? Family, friends, or just a big supporter?
So I'm from New York. I'm actually in New York right now. I live in France. I've been living overseas for the last 8 years, not for a military reason. I went there for a video game project. So I've been an American expat, and that's kind of what the graphic novel you mentioned, Replay, is about. It's about an American moving to France, with his two kids. But there's actually a military background in the previous generation. I'm American. My dad was born in Vienna, Austria, in 1931. So he was 7 years old, at the time of the Nazi Anschluss, when he and his, parents became refugees and fled Europe through France, which was soon, invaded and occupied in World War II. So my dad spent from age 7 to 10 as a child refugee in occupied France with his young aunt, and that's, I tell his story in the graphic novel, but interwoven with my own because it's because of that you know that adventure that ended happily. My dad and his parents were able to be reunited and come to New York, and became American citizens, which is so I'm American and New Yorker as a result. But I sort of did the reverse geographically by moving my kids across the Atlantic in the other direction 8 years ago, not to save our lives, but for a video game project under much better circumstances.
For
And
sure.
then my grandfather, my dad's father, who was a doctor in Vienna, at the time that the family was forced to flee, he had actually been a soldier in World War One on the losing side, on the Austro-Hungarian Empire's side, on the Russian front. So I grew up sort of hearing, my dad's stories and also my grandfather's stories about having been a soldier, in that terrible war, 1914 to 1918. So he'd survived two world wars, and growing up in my peaceful childhood in which I was able to read Mad Magazine and you know make video games and learn to program. I kind of always saw that in the context of what the previous generation had survived.
Sure. Yeah, they went through it so that you didn't have to, so that you could live a better life. That's it's incredible. What an amazing connection. Obviously, like I said, we're a pop culture podcast. Obviously, you have a rich history in games, in literature, and comics, and screenplays, and writing, and all this. What is it that today you geek out about the most? Right? Where's your geek flag flying these days?
I my first love as a kid was comics because there were no video games yet. In the early 1970s, so it was really there was pinball, the local bowling alley, but it wasn't until like 1978 that Space Invaders came along and video games really started to be fun. So when I was a kid, I was all about comics, and especially Mad Magazine. The movie parodies and TV parodies. Like I read those before I was old enough to see the movies. That like The Godfather and A Clockwork Orange, and Patton. I encountered those movies first in the 70s through the Mad Magazine satire. So I wanted to write and draw my own comic books. That was probably what I would have done if the Apple II computer hadn't come along when it did. And I then got obsessed with programming, making games. And so I made, my first game, Karateka, and then, as you mentioned, Prince of Persia, first on an Apple II computer, in the 80s. These days, really, comics are I've come back to comics,
Mm.
but also because the field has advanced, and in so many different ways in different countries. I live in France now. I mentioned that, and the European tradition of graphic novels and comics is so different from the American one. It was really only after moving to France that I started to read all of these just decades worth of incredible masters, Hugo Pratt, and Jacques Tardy, names that are less well known here.
Mm.
But for me, like the stories that are told in European comic books it's such a wealth, that I'm really deeply immersed in that now.
Oh, that's awesome. I love a good full circle moment, right? Coming all the way back to it. Never gets old. Let's dive in a little bit. Again, there's so many things we can talk about. I am curious about Replay, right? And this what's it called? Replay, memoir of an uprooted family. It's incredible. I was reviewing it and taking a look at it. I mean, it delves into your family's past, particularly, obviously, we talked about your father's immigration from Europe. What inspired you to turn such a deeply personal story into a graphic novel?
Yeah, well, it was an interesting moment, and I had just, I'd moved to France for a video game project, which I tell the story of that development, in replay in the book, which ended, a few years later, as many video game projects do, with morphing into something else and then getting canceled. So at that point, I was like, having just done this sort of, big team, you know, lots of people involved, like editorial input, and just like with a big movie, there's financing and marketing considerations, and it's I had a desire to do something that would be more intimate, where it would just sort of be in my hands creatively. And there's like writing and drawing a graphic novel for me. It's like coming back to the rhythm of game development of the early '80s, when it's just a kid with a computer, like at home. You just make the game at your own pace. There's no production timeline milestones to meet. It gives you complete creative freedom. And I had the idea of telling my family's story probably in the back of my mind for a long time. Like as a child of refugees, I think because uh, they were able to bring so little with them. The few photos and letters that they had saved, from the 20th century in Europe. My grandfather actually spent the 3 years of his retirement, as he'd been a doctor in Brooklyn, and then in the '70s he spent 3 years making a family memoir, in which he told his whole story of his childhood in the early 1900s in Chernovitz, which is now in Ukraine, his experience in World War I, soldier, and then in the 1920s getting married, having kids, being a doctor in Vienna, and then the flight, the escape during World War II. So he had put all of that down in paper with like letters and photos, and he expressed the desire that his children and grandchildren would kind of continue the story and tell the story of their own generation. So I think from childhood, I sort of had in my mind that someday when I get old, I'll do a memoir. And I didn't feel old yet, but I wanted to do it, first of all, because my parents, are still around and able to answer questions. My dad is 93 years old, and it was a great luxury to be able to, you know, pick up the phone and call him from France and ask him questions about his childhood adventures. And he's sharp as a tack and remembered, uh, just amazing details, which I was then able to flesh out by doing historical research. And, on the cover of Replay, there's these three strips representing three timelines. The top one is my grandfather as a soldier in World War I. Then I've drawn my dad, with my grandfather escaping from Vienna on a train. And then in the bottom panel, that's me with my dad, with my first Apple II computer in Chappaqua, New York, where I grew up. So it's a train in all three panels, and that's kind of a theme of the book. But I thought that having just moved to France, I was never going to have a better opportunity to tackle a project like this. And also, I have the good luck that in Montpellier, where I live, I have friends who are European graphic novel artists, and really being friends with them and sharing, working space with them is like an ongoing masterclass in graphic novel storytelling. So having the benefit of that, I was like, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. So it was in 2019, I really set everything else aside and just immersed myself in this project of writing and drawing Replay. And of course, to write and draw 320 pages, is there's a lot of research involved, and also it's like 1,500 individual illustrations. So it took 3 years from start to finish, and I really enjoyed that project. But it was, I think, the right time to do it, and now I'm so glad to be able to share it, with readers, with Prince of Persia video game fans who are, because it contains a kind of a behind the scenes of making games in the '80s and various game development adventures of making Prince of Persia, but interwoven with this.
Right.
The family story, of the 20th century and World Wars I and II.
That's incredible. And the theme of displacement and uprootedness, it's obviously central. It's a central part of this story. How do you go like I'm trying to, I know you have the stories like we talked about. You have the stories from your past and your family, but like how do you sit down and then explore those kind of themes to shape and really put the perspective of this identity and this belonging all into one book? Like it just seems like such a massive undertaking to me.
Yeah, and it was a very different kind of project from anything I'd done before, because in the past I've always done fiction, even when it's historical fiction. Uh, I have the freedom to invent, you know, the incidents of the book. I really felt constrained to stick to what was true. I didn't want to sort of do the Hollywood thing and invent a love story where there wasn't one, or make something, more dramatic. I just wanted to really respect, what my dad and what my grandparents had told me, and just tell it as much as I could the way that, you know, I thought that it happened. So, w- first, I mean, the first step was to really just understand the story. And I used Post-its. I used three different colors worth of Post-its. There's you can sort of see on the back cover, three suitcases, and each one is a different color. So I used sepia for my dad's and grandparents' story, things that I had heard about, but I wasn't born yet, so I didn't experience them directly. I had to rely on research and newsreels and photographs to be able to draw like the scenes of battle in World War One, or the invasion of France in 1940. Blue I used for my own memories, like growing up in the 70s and 80s, making games on the Apple II computer. Although oddly enough, that required research too, because enough time has passed that when my the office that I had at Broderbund in 1988, when I was making Prince of Persia, that plastic box that I kept the discs in, what did it look like? And what movie poster did I have on the wall? Amazingly, with the internet now, like you can find all that stuff. So I mean, I really love research. If you can't tell, I would continue the research phase forever. If I didn't, okay, I got to, at a certain point, I got to start drawing pages. So blue for the, for my memories, things that I remember, and then yellow for the present day frame story, which is me as an adult moving to France with my two teenage kids from Los Angeles to Montpellier. And so the advantage of the colors is that it lets the reader kind of keep track, and so like it can jump from one timeline to another through a flashback. One panel I've got my dad in the 90s telling me about something that happened in the 1940s, and then it changes color so the reader can follow it. So what I did to structure the story is sort of wrote the key incidents, the episodes that I thought would be most important uh, to each story on these Post-its in chronological order, and I put them out on sheets of paper. And then I tried to find the moments when they sort of intersected and overlapped. And the rule that I gave myself was that all three had to stay chronological, because already interweaving three timelines, it requires the reader to pay attention, even with the colors helping. I thought if I started jumping around in time within each timeline, it would just become too chaotic and impossible to follow. So I stayed chronological, but I looked for the points of overlap. And I think it's that kind of resonance between generations that makes a story like this work. Um, One of my references and role models was the movie The Godfather Part Two. There's so many movies that combine the stories of two generations, and often for me, like as in the audience, I feel like they don't quite work. And the one thing about The Godfather Part Two that's so brilliant is the way that it transitions between the story, the older Godfather as a young man, and then his son Michael, played by Al Pacino, grown up, going through sort of some of the same milestones and situations in his own life. So there's kind of a commentary that, like, with the birth of a child, marriage or a problem in a marriage. These things kind of echo in the different timelines. So with my three strips of Post-its, I tried to find those moments where, maybe it was like a train trip, you know, for example, like myself now with my daughter going up to Paris to visit, when my dad comes from New York and visits us in France, for the first time since we moved there in 2017, that was something that happened. So I put it in the book, and I combined that with my dad's being in Paris in 1939 with his aunt as they're trying to cross over from the occupied zone to the unoccupied zone. They had to take the same train from the Gare de Lyon
Wow.
that my daughter and I took. So having us meet up in France, and then sort of like having the stories uh,
Interwoven.
combine at
Yeah.
just that point, it creates a resonance because it's the same train station, it's the same train. So I looked for those kinds of, as a small example, but I looked for those points, inflection points throughout the three stories, and also with my grandfather in World War One, the military aspect, the fact of him being, him wanting to volunteer for the army but being too young, and then being conscripted into the army. I combined that with my son being the same age, age 17, 18, and what he's going through at that point with the move to France. So I looked for those kinds of points, and that kind of helped me structure the book. It was a very sort of an intricate little construction job, but and for a lot of chapters, it took me a few tries, to get it right, to get that balance right.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. That's, yeah. I love the idea of this, we're walking on the same steps as as a previous generation, like this idea and going back and forth. That's incredible. I was stationed, when I was in the military, I was stationed in Italy, in Vicenza, and so got to explore Europe and to know that you're walking on the same streets as as Napoleon might have walked on one day or in the past, and so it's incredible to get to share that. I'm curious. You're working on this book, and obviously this is years, obviously in the making, but when you're talking about kind of the like what's the old saying, like if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. So I'm curious, as you're
Absolutely.
looking back at all these different fixed points in history and all these amazing things, how does that make you feel about today? Because given the current global political climate, immigration is an issue, people being displaced. I mean, talk about like, I know this comes from years ago, but it's really on the pulse today. So
Yeah.
how has working on this really made you feel about kind of where the world is today?
Yeah, well, as you say, the book is called Replay. So in a way, that's an allusion to the way that the past kind of keeps coming back in different forms. There's uh, the quote from Santayana that you mentioned: "Those who don't remember the past are condemned to repeat it." We're living that now. And there's another quote which I love. I don't know who said it. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes.
That's good.
When I was writing this book, this was, 2019 to 2022. As I was finishing it, Russia invaded Ukraine, and so I was finishing the book, with this news coming in every day, and the strange feeling of seeing, on the news, the cities that I'd just drawn on a map, because my grandfather in 1917, 1918 was, and this was, he was born in Chernovitz, which is now in Ukraine. Today it's called Chernivtsi. And the trains that he took, as a child for a summer vacation, and then he went back to those same areas as a soldier on the train to fight on the Russian front of World War I. Those same towns now were appearing on the news and were being bombarded, and civilians were fleeing. So that was, terrible to see, but also giving me the feeling that this book was important, that it's, I think, because I have, the luxury to be living, in a peaceful, safe place. But, France is not so far from Ukraine, and Kiev is basically a European city where a couple of years before, could go there. My kids could go there. And now it's a war zone. And so many places in the world now, like, civilians are being bombarded and having to flee, becoming refugees, uh, and going through and risking all of that, dangerous journeys, because being at home, when your life is in danger and your kids are in danger, is worse. And as has always been the case in history, some politicians cynically take advantage of people's fears and the stress, and kind of demonize refugees and immigrants, as being people who are different from us and who are dangerous. So I think it's important to tell the stories, individual family stories, because statistics, when you say this many people, this many thousand people displaced, or, every single one of those people is a person with parents and kids and a family. And when one person becomes a victim, that's a tragedy that has ripple effects, through their entire family and network of friends, and on into the future. And just so I think telling the story of one kid, one family, like, no matter what their nationality,
Mhm.
or religion, it's it's universal. I think the experience of being separated from your parents, of being displaced, of being in fear, having to move to a new country and learn a new language, it's like wherever you come from, like that experience, is similar. And
Yeah.
so I think to read a book where you can identify with somebody else's experience, I think that helps us, I think, to empathize with people all over, and I think we can all sort of see ourselves and our own families reflected in more ways. So I mean, that's part of the reason that I love to read. I love to read books, especially memoirs, graphic novels, because it helps me to give a context for the experiences of peoples and places in the world that I've never been to, and by seeing that sort of shared humanity, it makes it, uh, it gives me a kind of a way to relate to these things that otherwise just seeing them on the news, it's hard to
Yeah.
engage
You
with.
get a wider world perspective. I think that's something I've talked to a lot of military veterans, and we're blessed in that because we serve with so many nationalities and so many different countries and travel and things that we gain kind of this broader understanding that we're just a speck, on this kind of giant tapestry of humanity. Um, and I love everything you said, and I think too, not just I mean it's such a man with the immigration and the being torn from your home and having to travel, but even look at like the after effects of the hurricane. People their lives destroyed, and they have to uproot, and it's like if you were born and raised and lived in that area, now you have to start all over, and it's this idea of loss and starting over, and oh man, it's just it hits so hard, and I'm so glad you have this there that people can read and connect to, and hopefully gain a better understanding of, that we could, like you said, we live comfortably today, we live nicely today, but just a generation back, 2 generations back, they went through these unbelievable things that we need to remember. We need to see and appreciate and be glad that they came through it so that we can have these peaceful existences. So just really, oh man, I implore everybody to get a copy and to read the story. Before we run out of time, though, I do want to talk a little bit about Prince of Persia, because obviously that's a huge part of your story, and celebrating 35 years, 35th anniversary. Prince of Persia has evolved across multiple platforms. It's been in multiple versions of media over the past 35 years. I'm curious, from your perspective, what's been the most surprising thing that you've learned from this kind of enduring legacy of this game?
Yeah, I think the thing that impresses me most now, in year 35 and counting, is just the incredible diversity of the community of players and teams, who've played Prince of Persia, worked on Prince of Persia, created Prince of Persia games over the years. I mean, as you probably know, this year, 2024, has been an amazing year for Prince of Persia. After a long quiet period, 2 new Prince of Persia games have been released. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown from the Ubisoft Montpellier studio, which, if you read Replay, that's the town in France that I moved to. So I know the guys who've made this wonderful Metroidvania 2D game, which is just a beautiful way to kind of relaunch Prince of Persia after so long, since the Sands of Time trilogy and the 2008 cell shaded game that were made in Montreal. All great and all different. So I think one of the challenges for the team making a new Prince of Persia game now in 2024 was to kind of acknowledge the fact that depending on what Prince of Persia game you played and how, what generation of gamer you are, Prince of Persia could mean something totally different, whether it's the 2D Apple II or PC or Super Nintendo original game, or the Sands of Time trilogy. That, for many people, like, that was the first Prince of Persia game they played, and that's what Prince of Persia means to them. Or the 2010 Disney movie with Jake Gyllenhaal as the prince, or even the late 2008 cell shaded one with Elika has its own set of fans who, for them, that's so the Lost Crown kind of includes in different ways. It sort of has all of that, finds its way into the new reimagined Prince of Persia universe, but in a way that's also very, very coherent and absolutely its own thing, very deeply inspired by Persian mythology. So it's great to see the franchise flourishing again. And of course, there's the remake of Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, which released 21 years ago this year, and a new young team in Ubisoft Montreal is working on that remake now. So that's going to be out in 2026. So it's great to see all of this, but at the same time, you've got a community of retro gamers who are like taking the Prince of Persia source code, which is online on GitHub for people interested in digital archaeology who want to see how games were programmed in 6502 assembly language back in the day. Like that's there. People are modding it and creating their own new Prince of Persia levels and doing speed runs. So it's so many different aspects to this community, and it's just wonderful to see.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I remember my first moments. It might have been Prince of Persia 2, but I remember the side scrolling and hitting the switches and jumping and falling to my death 1,000 times. And like, oh man, that was, I mean, in all love, that was the most infuriating game I remember playing as a child. It was like that and like Oregon Trail, like it just would drive me nuts. But I was too young. But it's all great. I'm curious if you could go back in time, right, and give advice to your younger self when you were developing Prince of Persia, like looking back now, what advice would you give?
That's interesting that you say that, because going back in time is the theme. Well, it's the theme of Replay, the graphic novel, but it's also been the theme of the Prince of Persia games. I mean, even to the point of giving the player a dagger
Sands of
full of
Time,
magic
yeah.
sand. Time, yeah. I think the advice I would give my younger self about game development is kind of the same advice that I would give in general, which is to treasure like the moments while they're happening. Because especially like we're driven, we're thinking, I'm going to do this and get this done, and then that's going to enable the next step. It's so easy to like live with, our eyes sort of fixed on the future, but to really just treasure the moments as they're happening, because it goes by so fast. And especially to treasure the human aspects of these moments. I think often, especially in a professional context, we're with people on a team, we're trying to achieve an objective, and so we're focused on, how do we get this done? Is it going well? Is it going badly? And it's only like decades later that we look back and we realize that these people who were our comrades, that the relationships that we've formed with them are kind of the fabric of our lives. And so to just like, even when we encounter someone in a difficult situation professionally, where we see that person as an obstacle, like I'm trying to convince them of something, and I just, you know, that happens, like you go through that situation, then you encounter the same person again in a different situation. So the context keeps changing, but that relationship stays. And so I would give my younger self the advice to just be as aware as possible of the people that I'm encountering and who they are and what their stories are, and just to realize that our shared story, after a few decades, amounts to something important.
Mm. Oh, that's such good advice. We often get so obsessed with the outcome and everything will be better once I just do this, and this, and you don't appreciate what you have in front of you and the ride. Man, I love that. That's so good. I'm gonna put you on the spot here a little bit. So obviously we talked about it. The Prince of Persia has been adapted into movies and graphic novels and reboots and all these different things. So do you have a favorite caveat that you weren't directly involved in? What's your favorite kind of adaptation or version of the Prince of Persia?
Okay, well, the ones that I wasn't directly involved in,
Yes.
which, I mean, in a way, you've made it easy, because like we love all our children, so to have to choose between the original Prince of Persia or
Right.
the Sands of Time, the ones that I would like, that I was in,
Yep.
would be hard. But The Lost Crown, since it just came out, and I played it recently, and I had the experience of discovering it as a player, since I wasn't part of the team for that one. I'm just so happy to have this game and really enjoying it. I think they did a beautiful job. So The Lost Crown.
Okay, I love it. And finally, we'll move on to a different topic, but I gotta ask, as you kind of reflect back on 35 years with Prince of Persia, uh, from your perspective, what elements of the game do you think kind of contributed to why it was successful then, and also why is it cross generationally? Why is it continually to appeal to gamers?
Yeah. I think the deep source of Prince of Persia is something that goes back thousands of years, which is the tales of the Thousand One Nights, which come out of Persian, Iranian culture, and they're sort of part of our collective, cultural unconscious. That is, as a kid, I can't even remember the first time I heard those stories. Maybe it was in a children's book, maybe it was in the Warner Brothers cartoon, Ali Baba Bunny, or Mad Magazine satires. There was this wonderful 1940 movie, Technicolor movie, The Thief of Baghdad. So all of that was sort of in my childhood. And so in 1985, choosing a subject, a setting for this platform running jumping game that I wanted to make, it just kind of bubbled up. And I think I tapped into something that just runs so deep. That was a big part of the reason that Prince of Persia spoke to so many people. It worked with that sort of pixely, very simple graphics of the time, and then it worked with the newer generation of graphics with the PlayStation 2, with the Sands of Time. It worked as a movie in 2010, and it's working now as a Metroidvania. I think it's the combination of something very ancient with something with new technology and action adventure storytelling. I think it's just a combination that worked, and I have to thank kind of the magic of that pairing, for Prince of Persia's longevity.
Absolutely. And I mean, obviously not that we have you to thank for all the, but no, you know what? I take that back. We do have you to thank, because I think of all the game franchises that have come and been created that had to have drawn inspiration from games like the Prince of Persia, like modern day Assassin's Creed. That's to me, that's just a really, really updated version of Prince of Persia. So, really, there's so much that came, that was spawned off of that idea and that style of gameplay, and it just kind of evolved over time. I love it. I'm so grateful for it. Before we let you go, I do want to talk a little bit about your modern retelling of the Count of Monte Cristo. What, again, I know we've kind of touched on it a little bit because you've talked about like the past and drawing inspiration, but what drew you specifically to the Count of Monte Cristo as a story that was worth reimagining in the modern era?
That's this one, yeah, and it's
Beautiful.
See, it's 220 pages. This one I wrote. I didn't draw it. I worked with the wonderful Italian illustrator Mario Alberti, and it was published first in France, and so now this is the English version from Magnetic Press. We did a Kickstarter for the English edition, and now it's going to be shipping this month. Yeah, I was on a train actually in Europe reading the original Alexandre Dumas novel, The Count of Monte Cristo, which takes place in 19th century France. It's about the Napoleonic era. But it just struck me reading it that the story he told of an innocent young man who's unjustly, accused of a crime he didn't commit, thrown into prison by his enemies who kind of conspire to use their position to get him out of the way. One of them so that he can marry his fiancée, this beautiful young woman, his high school sweetheart, who they're going to get married, and this other guy gets his rival out of the way. But then there's also a work colleague who gets rid of him for his own reasons, and then there's the prosecutor who, for to avoid a political scandal, conspires to like send this guy off to prison without a trial, and he spends 15 years in this secret prison only to come back through this extraordinary chain of events in a new identity, rich, powerful, and determined to use his fortune and all of the skills that he acquired along the way to take revenge on these three people. So it's a wonderful story. It's worked, beloved by generations of readers, especially in France. But reading it, I was struck by how this reminded me of the period, the post 9/11 period that we had just lived through as a country here. As a New Yorker, I had, sort of watched this, the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, and the way that so many people, starting, with soldiers and civilians, suffered because of the way that this, the great fear that we all had of of Al Qaeda and of another terrorist attack sort of served as a justification for things, some of which were like the episode described in Monte Cristo, innocent victims who kind of found themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time. So this is the modern version of the Count of Monte Cristo, is the story of a young American contractor who's working in Iraq in the post-war construction in 2005, who finds himself framed for terrorism and sent off to an offshore prison, where he goes through a gauntlet and an adventure similar to what Dumas described, but it's the modern version. And then he comes back in the present day, returns to America in a new identity as a kind of a mysterious Eastern European billionaire. Nobody really knows where his money comes from, but the three people who got him out of the way have now risen to prominent positions in Wall Street, government, and politics. And they're very very highly placed targets, but our Monte Cristo is able to sort of insinuate his way into their lives in this kind of chess game to try to use his fortune and his intelligence to bring them all down. And so it's just Dumas created a wonderful structure. So to try to find the modern equivalent, and researching, the way that the FBI and the Justice Department and Wall Street and hedge funds all work today, to do a version that's as accurate about our modern day systems as Dumas was about his 19th century France portrayal. It was just, I love research. I approached this as if it were a historical novel, even though it's sort of my own time and place and the towns in New York and Connecticut that I grew up in, and Washington, D.C., and then also towns in Europe, because it's an international story. I love doing the research, and the illustrator, Mario, also is a demon for the details. And so it's funny because he was Italian, and I'd written the places that I know about, but he had never been, for example, to Stamford, Connecticut. So he was asking me for references, and so I was telling him, what movies to watch. I recommended that he watch The Town with Ben Affleck to see how people, dressed in Connecticut in 2004, in this kind of a neighborhood, and what kind of cars they would drive and so forth.
Wow. I mean, man, that's such a good description. How do you, because you really did nail it when you mentioned it, but how do you balance staying true to the original while in essence changing the elements, right? So that it resonates with that contemporary audience? How do you decide what stays and what goes and what gets changed, etc.?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I started with the approach that as much as possible, I wanted to use Dumas' story and characters. But the world has changed so much. And also because what he wrote was a 1,200-page serialized novel. I think it's not structured the way that you have to structure a book if you want it to be like one tome, that delivers a punch. It has to kind of build to a climax. You want it to be as exciting as possible. You don't have the luxury of having episodes that kind of go off in a subplot that, that's not absolutely essential to the story. And probably the most challenging thing is the way that our attitudes towards, well, for one thing, the female characters in Monte Cristo are really play a subsidiary role. And I think, there were opportunities there, in telling the story today, you have it wouldn't be right to do Monte Cristo without recognizing that we now live in a society in which, women can occupy active positions in a way that, in Dumas' 19th century conception, he just didn't think of that. Another example would be that the original Monte Cristo hinges on the idea of fighting a duel, for honor, that if someone insults you, you're obliged to risk your life in fighting a duel. That's no longer true today. So as much as possible, and especially in, I think, the last, the setup of the book, the first third is more similar to Dumas, and it's really in the last half where the story moves toward a resolution that I've had to find different modern equivalents. But there I tried to ask myself the question of, why did Dumas make this choice? He set up this, this chain of, plot twists and so forth, which doesn't work because in today's society like that, it just wouldn't happen like that. But, in terms of character and emotion and surprise, like what are the key effects that he achieves? And so once I sort of had those, I would try to find a reason, like, for example, a moment when Monte Cristo's old love comes to him and asks him for mercy, on behalf of her son, in a way that in order to grant her request, Monte Cristo has to basically risk his entire project of vengeance and accept that he might be killed if he agrees, and he agrees. Like, so the details of what it is that he agrees to wouldn't work in the modern version, but I tried to find an equivalent to bring him to that same emotional place of having to make a choice. That's one example.
Oh, that's
But
perfect.
yeah. Well, one of the biggest differences in terms of the structure is that there's a very important female character in books 2 and 3 of this the graphic novel, who doesn't exist in the Dumas original, and she's a young FBI agent, a millennial, who becomes suspicious of Monte Cristo and starts trying to lobby her boss to, the FBI director, to open an investigation. So because she's sure that he's up to, something nefarious, and she can't get the authorization for this investigation because the FBI has other priorities than investigating someone who has not yet committed a crime.
Right.
But so she becomes an important character, and also she and Monte Cristo develop this kind of rapport because he sees that she's like an honest person who's smart and who's onto him, and he enjoys that. He respects it, but at the same time, he's also determined to win. So it's almost like a Thomas Crown affair, kind of cat and mouse relationship between the two of them, which actually weaves in really well with the other events that Dumas had come up with. He just, he did it differently, but in the graphic novel, having this character really enabled me to build the second half, and especially the third book of the trilogy, into to really come to a dynamic and exciting conclusion.
No, that makes perfect sense. I'm curious because you have tackled such complex narratives in the games, in the books, everything. What's your approach to kind of keeping these stories engaging across different formats and kind of just for different audiences?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great privilege to work in so many storytelling mediums that I've loved since I was a kid. I mean, comics, graphic novels, video games, and then screenwriting and film are all storytelling media, but they work so differently. I think each one really required I would say at least a 5-year apprenticeship of kind of getting up to speed to the point where like I felt like I understood the medium enough that I was starting to to unlock its potential a bit. I mean, in games, probably the most important thing is that the storytelling should be interactive. So to take the example of Prince of Persia, Sands of Time, I mean, this was 20 years ago, but I think it still holds true that when the most dramatic moments of the story are experienced by the player in gameplay, they hit harder than if you just sit back and you watch that happen in a cinematic and then you start playing again. Things like having the like when the princess Farah steals the dagger of time from the prince, for good reasons of her own. But then as the player, suddenly you don't have the dagger anymore, and you have to go through this incredibly dangerous sequence without the ability to rewind. You feel that in a way that even watching a movie, like with the empathy that you feel for the character, it's greater when you have to experience that yourself. So as much as possible, giving those storytelling moments to the player, putting them in gameplay rather than in cinematics. Movies, adapting Sands of Time from a game story to a film story. I mean, I was the first screenwriter on the movie. There were 4 writers who came after me. So if you've seen the movie, there's plenty in there that doesn't reflect my intentions, but the basic structure of making it a kind of a road trip across Persia was, that's the way I conceived the story. Whereas the story for the Sands of Time game was deliberately contained in one palace in the course of like one day and night. And there it's just, again, the matter of like what each medium does best. When you're doing especially a Disney Jerry Bruckheimer movie with a cast of thousands, and you're going to go to Morocco and film there, and you can have, casts of, thousands of people and soldiers and horses and camels. It's like, you want that, and you want the colorful supporting characters. You want that tapestry of a journey. But for the game, because the gameplay consisted of sort of acrobatic parkour combat, being able to do wall runs and basically get from point A to point B in a very satisfying and challenging way. Like that works best in a contained environment. Having crowds of people and secondary characters on a PlayStation 2, at that point we couldn't do that. Having just 3 characters on the screen was plenty. And so that's why the plague in Sands of Time that transformed all the characters into sand monsters, except for the player and the NPC sidekick and the villain, made sense, because that means that everybody you meet is a combat opportunity, because there's no button on the PlayStation 2 controller for meet somebody and have a conversation with them. Yeah. Graphic novels, again, a third storytelling medium, very different from games and movies, because you don't have that timing element. When you edit a movie, timing is everything. But with a book, it's up to the reader to establish the timing. Turning the pages, the reader decides when to turn the page, and you can invite the reader's eye to travel over the page in a particular direction at a particular pace. But some people read faster, some read slower. So you can turn back the pages. So it's really almost interactive in a different way. You're giving the reader the power to tell the story to themselves in their own way. And it's what happens often between the panels that takes place in the reader's imagination carries as much meaning as what you've actually drawn.
That's right. Oh man, that's perfect. And I think you touched on something really good. I'm curious what again, being that you've been in this kind of realm for so long, with the evolution of technology in gaming, in storytelling, right? We've seen VR, we've seen interactive experiences and, click through adventures and all these different things, 4D and all these things happening. How do you see the future of narrative driven games and other media evolving over time?
Yeah, well, and the future of games and interactive narrative isn't just one thing at this point. It's because we have so many different formats and technology is making so many things possible. We can have these huge open world games with teams of hundreds of people, at the same time as we have indie games that are experiences created by a team of 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, VR is another thing. Mobile and handheld is another thing. Games with a social component where you're interacting with other people online. So all of these things, it's like this is now the palette from which game creators and narrative creators can draw on. So, I mean, the future is certainly very rich, and we're going to see things in the next years and decades that maybe we wouldn't even consider today as games, but which still have that element of storytelling and of interactivity.
Absolutely. And as we wrap this up, I'm curious, what advice would you give someone who is maybe, they have that nugget, they have the idea of the story, of the journey, but they're not sure where to get started, right? What medium to approach it from. What advice would you give to those new kind of creators?
I think the best way to start is to use what you have at hand. I mean, because having an idea for, a grandiose project that maybe it'll be 5 or 10 or 20 years before we actually are in a position to make that real, that's great. File that away somewhere and ask, like, what can I create right now? What can I, whether it's, programming a game or drawing a comic strip or writing a story or, doing a podcast, if whatever we have the ability to create and that we can share with people, like, to work in that form is a step which can bring us to the next step and the next step, and over years and decades. Like, it's amazing where that can lead us, but as long as you're moving forward, that gives us the chance to steer and to change direction.
Oh, that's wonderful. All right, I'll give you the last few seconds here. If you have a social media, let's plug that. Tell the viewers one last time, where can they support you? How can they support you? Where to find all the projects you're involved in, and why they should go ahead and get that.
Well, thanks. I hope you'll read my graphic novels. And I have a website, jordanmechner.com, which is free, and it's a repository of archival behind the scenes materials about the making of my games all the way back to the 80s. So if you're into Prince of Persia or The Last Express, I've posted things like scripts and design documents and links, for all of that. That's also where I post the news about my new projects, announcements about the latest Ubisoft Prince of Persia games, and my new graphic novels, Monte Cristo and Replay, as well as upcoming projects. The website is where I announce it first, jordanmechner.com. And I'm
Awesome.
on social media as well. All my links are at the bottom of the landing page of that website.
Perfect. Yeah, and we'll link everything to in the comment or in the description of this video. But I want to thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us today. Man, there are few people you get to really meet that have left kind of an indelible mark, a fingerprint on an industry the way you have across multiple facets of industries and media. And truly an honor to get to speak with you. I really appreciate your time. And I can't wait for people to go check out your stuff. And I can't wait to see what you come out with next.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we're going to toss it to a break. And when we come back, we'll have more show. But I just want to give a big thanks to Jordan Mechner, everybody. Big round of applause. Thanks for coming on, man. Hey, maybe I should take myself off mute. Hi, look at that. Quick change. And just like that, I'm back. Let's bring our guy. Angry Elf is still here. Hey, buddy. What's good, buddy? Oh, man.
Oh, I know. Just, I'm just watching an awesome interview. Dude.
Yeah. Jordan Mechner, what a guy. What an absolutely phenomenal guy. Really, really enjoyed talking with him. Every time I get the opportunity to sit down with these people, and it's like,
Right.
If you just ask, oh, well, he's known for Prince of Persia. And you go, oh, well, is that it? But then you start diving into it. Like, what does that really mean? Right? Like, how did that start? Where did it go? How did we, 35 years of a legacy in just that. And then the graphic novel stuff. And then, the retelling of Count of Monte Cristo and the telling of his family history. Like, dude, legend. Absolute legend. How cool. Just man. Like, sometimes I surprise myself. Like, I don't want to take credit, right? But I'm a hell of an interviewer. But like, I'm like, man, I really enjoyed our conversation. And it really is such a humbling thing for me, is that after literally when we hang up, If it's a live interview, we toss it to break, or in this case, I was recording. We finish the recording, and I get that 2 to 3 minutes with that person just one on one, and
Yeah.
they're always like, "Oh man, like that was great. I really enjoyed that." And like it's such a silly thing, but like it really means a lot to me. Like when they tell me like, "Oh, I really enjoyed that," and like that was a great interview. The game guys we had on last week for 21
Right.
Bluff like emailed me afterwards, and they're like, "Hey man, just wanted to tell you, we've been promoting this thing for a while. This was hands down our favorite interview." And
Oh,
it's like,
wow.
yeah, like that. It's such an honor, and I feel like a lot of it has to do with a um I really do try to connect. I really do try to, as best as I can, share their story and give them the platform to share their story and try to ask, really thoughtful questions and things. And then, I think in and of itself, it's part of it is that we're allotted the amount of time that you can really delve into
Right.
things, whereas
Yeah.
anywhere else you get 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, like it's really like sell, 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 sell. As opposed to like, no, let's get to know the person. Let's find
Yeah.
out the story behind the thing as much as we sell the thing.
Well,
Um, yeah.
that and after 5 years of interviewing people, I mean, you should be basically proficient at it.
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, that first year I didn't do a lot of interviews in the first year, and then that second year, like call a spade a spade. They weren't great. They weren't great interviews. Um, and I think like honestly, as much as I love to tout, like we've had Louis Anderson and Greg Clark and
Yeah.
my God, the list goes on and on of these amazing people, Phil Lamar and all these people. Like at the same time, how it started was like, hey, this week we're gonna be talking to this guy I met at a comedy club who's performed at like one bar, and like let's talk about his life and what like it really came from just random people I had met. Um, and then little by little, calling in a lot of favors of people that I've
Yeah.
become friendly with, and then, doing a lot of, you start at the bottom, literally, you know, indie director that's never directed anything in his
Yep.
life. Let's talk about his new movie, and it's you can only find it at this one store behind the bookcase, like we grew into something that I'm very proud of. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
it's been fun. It's been a fun ride. Um, Want to do a giveaway? We'll see. We'll
Does a
see.
bear shit in the woods?
We'll see who's still awake out there that I didn't put them to sleep with my
Hello.
dulcet tones, my dulcet interview tones.
Hello, wake up. Everybody wake
Hello,
up. This
hello,
is your
tink, tink, tink,
opportunity.
tink. So what should be the phrase that pays? What should be the giveaway phrase to keep it in line with I don't know, the season, the show, let's say
Krampus.
Krampus. All right, I guess I can go with that. So if you'd like a chance to be entered into our giveaway, the final giveaway of today, and a chance at immortality, pop culture immortality. Let's
Mentality. That's perfect.
let's give me a Krampus in the chats, and we will add you to the list. I see that Billy's on it, man. He is quick on the trigger. I like it.
He wants to be in there. He wants to make this a well, can't make it a hat trick, but he wants to make it you know,
Right. Scott
part
says,
two, as it were.
is that Krampus with a C or a K? I believe it's a K. I believe Krampus
It's
is
a K.
I think it's with a
It's a
K.
K.
I want to say, I got you, Scott. I got you, Scott. So who, if you, Captain Wayne, there he is. Captain Wayne. I got you, buddy. Uh, Anybody else out there still Still alive. Still alive in the chats. Anybody out there? Anybody? Is anybody with a pulse? Still rocking and rolling. Says here we got 150 people watching live. Good night. Wow.
100 then we should have 150 people entering right now.
You would think. A lot of people are shy and they don't like to chat.
Or they just, put it on and listen to it as
Hey, Susan,
they
welcome
clean
back.
the
I grabbed the wrong thing by accident. Put that back. No, I'm screwing up the TikToks. There it goes. Okay. Susan, I see you out there. Do you want to change? You want a chance? You want a chance? Let's see. Adding these
All or nothing.
Spin it. Some people are anxious to try to win that thing. Win that thing. Shots
So
or
if
what?
somebody
Enter me. Edward, man, the phrase that pays, it's Krampus. You gotta put Krampus in the chats if you want to. Like, you gotta play by some of the rules. You gotta play by some of the rules.
do I?
It's funny. People are like, I want to be in. Well, then put Krampus in the chat. That's all you gotta do.
Well, if you want to be in, maybe you should be a Patreon subscriber. Then you wouldn't even have to,
Great plug, man. You are the best hype guy. Plug.
I try.
Sure.
I try.
CQ Rampus? C Krampus. C Krampus. There we go.
Krampus with a K?
Krampus with a K. Speaking of which, so I was like, it's been 5 years. While getting Edward, I got you, buddy. It's been 5 years doing this. We still don't have like a name for the fans, right? Didn't at one point we call them C cuties?
C cuties? No.
Yeah, C cuties. C cuties.
No. It's not C cuties.
No. Because pop culture warriors, because I thought I was gonna say, oh, PC warriors, and I'm like, oh no, that sounds terrible. That sounds terrible. Pop
Warriors.
pop pros? No. I don't know, man. I don't know what to call the fans. I don't know what to call the fans. Something the spin-off Warriors. Hey Corey, what's up, man? CQ lights. Instead of acolytes.
Fanboys and girls.
Fans. Call them fans. Got it. What do we call the fans of the show? Fans. Nailed it. Fucking nailed it. Good job, Angry
Hey, that's
Elf.
where you keep me around.
That's we pay you the $0.
Hey.
Instead of acolytes, CQ lights. CQ lights. CQ lights.
No.
See, I imagined it CQT apostrophe S. CQTs. CQTs. Yeah, cuties. CQTs. 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 I don't know.
It could
I don't know.
work.
I'm over analyzing it. Anyway, all right. Corey, you got 2 seconds, the CQ maniacs.
Spin that wheel.
You got 2 seconds, CQ Mafia. Ooh, maybe. Phrase that pays is Krampus, man. Put Krampus in the chat. So I add you to the board. We're going to spin this wheel and call it a night.
Spin that wheel.
My brain is so... I wrote Krampus. I put it onto the surprise wheel.
You did what?
I entered Krampus into the giveaway. My brain is so wrong.
Leave it in there. Leave it in there. That's like the whammy. No whammy. No whammy.
No whammies. Pop. Joe. Hey, Joseph in the chats. Welcome back. Got you, Joseph. Corey, I'm putting you in just because you're CQ Black Ops. What the fuck? No. I'd love a spin on something either pop or Warrior, or I mean, if you really are good and you can plug in CQ to it, but it's less about being a fan of me and more being a fan of the show. So, like the pop, uh, pop, Popophiles? Is that pedophiles? Popophiles. Popophiles.
You want to get canceled?
Oh,
Ladies and gentlemen,
man.
I'm sorry to announce that Pop Culture Warrior will not be seen anymore, but in its place will be
Yeah.
Angry Elf's Angry Rants
Yeah.
every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what
yeah.
really grinds my gears?
Yeah. Popcores? Popcores, it's too close to popcorns or popcorn. Like, but popcore, I thought about something like that, like the Deadpool core, right? The Pop Warrior core or something like that. I don't know. I'm still workshopping it. Bro, I even tried to get AI. I tried like in ChatGPT and I was like, look, here's the show, here's what we do, here's the keywords,
Yeah.
come up with, and the suggestions were terrible. Real quick. I'm gonna do the spin, I promise, but you just gotta hear some of these the suggestions it came up with.
Right.
Let me see. Da. Okay. The Pop Troop. Culture Troop. Culture Commandos, which I'm kind of okay with, but
Right.
the connotation's a little weird. The Fandom Force, PCW Recon Squad. Like, Jesus.
That's too much of a mouthful.
Yeah. The Pop Battalion. The,
Battalion!
the Nerd Platoon.
No.
Warrior Watchers. I thought that could have. Again, it sounds weird though. The Pop Brigade, Fandom Frontline. It's like a little too on the nose. The Culture Core, which is where I thought I was like, oh, Core is actually kind of a good. The Culture Core.
Culture Core. Okay.
What if it was Core Culture? No, because then it sounds like it's about the core. PCW Allies. I think it'd be like, military, like the Allies, the Axis of Allies. PCW Allies. The Collector Cadre, which is like, that's not bad, but like, it's not everybody's a collector.
Right.
The Nerd Vengers.
Avengers?
The Nerd Vengers. The Geek Militia. And the
Militia.
Warrior Fandom, which was damn near as good as your fan idea. We call them fans. Anyway, so even ChatGPT's like, I don't know what to tell you, man. I can't help you.
Yeah.
Those are
You're
terrible.
screwed.
Those are terrible. Even ChatGPT can't figure that shit out. All right. Anyway. No. The Culture Commando Club with all Ks. Really?
Who suggested that?
Scott, I see what you did there. The Poppy McPop faces. That could work. AI was like, no. The Pop Culture Club. It's simple. But it's Pop Culture Peeps. Pop Culture Peeps could work.
The icon could be a little peep.
It's a little peep with the little.
Yeah, you would never get me to wear a shirt like that.
Pop Culture Clubbers. PCP. You could call them the PCP, the Pop Culture Peeps. Just remember, FTX was named by one of y'all in the chat. So I'm all for it. Of all of them, Pop Culture Peeps kind of. I'm okay with it. I'm gonna let it sit. I'm gonna sit with it for a bit. But that's about the closest I think I've come to something where I'm like, I could see that. CQ Cognitive Operator. Jesus Christ. All right. Anyway, here we go. Let's bring up the board. Where's my button for the board? Boop. There it is. Oh no. Where'd the board go? Come back, board. Fix it. Fix it. Fix it. Hang on. There it is. Okay. The board is up. Now, obviously, as always, the P's next to a name indicates that a person is a Patreon member, meaning they don't have to be here live in order to win a prize. So, if you'd like to be able to enter in any giveaway we get without having to be here live, maybe be a Patreon. It's only $3. It's not that complicated. No commitments, no contracts, no, you can cancel anytime. And this is the month, it's the best because, as I was telling someone in private earlier, like I said, any of these items back here are up for grabs. If a Patreon member were to win, they would access an additional tier of prizes that are at a much higher value. We'll put it that way. Just as a thank you for the support. Okay, so I've added for tonight's show Billy Scott, Captain Wayne, Edward, Corey, and Joseph. The Pop Culture Posse.
Ooh,
That's not
pop
bad.
culture. We could be known as the PCPers.
Yeah. Well, that's the same with the Pop Culture Peeps, PCP. Peeps or Posse. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I'm gonna sit on it. All right. So I'm shuffling up the names. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. And I will wait till Angry Elf tells me to stop.
Stop.
All righty. Ladies and gentlemen, let's spin that wheel.
Spin that wheel.
Jesus, that's loud in my ears.
It wasn't even loud. Sorry.
Bro, why is it so loud? Wow, I'm deaf now. Congratulations, Greg. Greg, you are tonight's big winner. Not sure, I don't see him in the chats, but I will reach out and make sure that Greg knows he has won his prize. Or if you happen to know Greg, he's always in here. He's always hanging around. But if you know Greg, shout him out. Say, hey, congratulations, Greg. Does this include the Superman underwear? Hey, man, you don't know. Ton, hey, man, Ton, welcome back. All right, so Greg, you're the big winner, and we will get you whatever prize you choose. Yeah, I can't even tell you what prize it is because it could be anything. You pick the prize. I don't know. For those that won, tomorrow I'm gonna kind of lay it out, catalog everything. It's poster. No one tell Greg spin it again. Sorry, it doesn't work like that. It's posters, it's bags, it's figures, books, collectibles, autographed headshots, apparel.
And autographed headshots, we mean pictures, not, headshots.
Yeah. Hollywood talk. I know, headshots. It's photos of people that they then signed.
Yes.
Yeah, the 21 Bluff game that was donated by the team, that's up for grabs. So there's a bunch of stuff. And like I said, just so I don't go broke, as long as you're willing to pay for the shipping, it's all yours. So it's really in your hands. With that,
Back that U-Haul up.
with that, let's wrap this show up as we do every night. First of all, thank you guys for hanging in, for watching. Y'all are awesome. I appreciate each and every one of you. This is just a small way of giving back to all of you amazing people that hang out with us and shoot the shit with us and talk nonsense with us each and every week. We're going to be doing multiple winners every week between now and the new year. So if you didn't win tonight, I'm so sorry. You have plenty of chances to win next week. And
as a Patreon subscriber.
And as a Patreon subscriber. And I think I want to do it so that no one can win 2 weeks in a row. So, like, if you won tonight, you wouldn't be able to win next week, but you could win the week after that. Is that fair? That seems fair. It seems fair.
Sure.
Hard to personally sign your own headshots. Personal pictures signed by CQ. I mean, if that's on your bucket list, I got you. I got some sexy. Oh, you know what picture just came in actually?
What picture just came in?
I
Let
didn't
me see
have
this sexiness.
I didn't have time to get it like to download it, but whatever. But here, I'll show it to you from my phone. That is me and the Bidens. It's all blurry. Me, Joe, and what's her name? Oh God, Dr. Biden. I forgot her
Jill.
first name. Jill?
Jill.
Joan? Jill. Yep. It's me and the Bidens. So if you want a me and the Bidens headshot, I'll print that shit out and sign it. I don't care. That's what you want. This is your business. What you do with it, that's your business. I don't want to know. That being said, thank you guys for hanging out with us. Let's take a quick peek. If you're new around here, these are all the shows you can see on any given week. You've got starting off Sunday nights, because yes, Sunday starts the week. Sunday nights, it's the Sports Bar with King and Coach, giving you up to the minute news and highlights of all the things happening in sports. Monday's Monday edition with Ice and Massey. That is all of the things happening around the world. That's your news, commentary, discussion. What's happening in the world? Stay up to date. Know what's going on around you. Tuesdays right here, Pop Culture Warrior with me and Mad Mike, or sometimes Angry Elf, or other people.
Always
I don't
Angry
know.
Elf.
It's people, random people. I'll start pulling people off the street. I don't care. Wednesdays, the Smoke Pit. That's Radar and TZ. Shout out to Radar. I miss you, bro. Thursdays, it's Sergeant Time with Ice and Spanky. And then Fridays, every other Friday, this is an on week. It's going down this Friday. FTX, Friday Night Tabletop Exercise with me and the boys playing all kinds of silly, nonsensical games. And we'll tell you, like, you can be part of it, you can enjoy it, and we kind of rate the games as you know, should you buy it? We'll tell you. Hang in there and chill with us. It's a good time. And then Saturday nights, closing out the week, weekend co-ops with Nemo and playing games and all around goofiness and silliness and having a good time. But those are all the shows we have here at WTF Nation Radio. I want to thank my amazing co-host for tonight, Mr. Angry Elf, my
You're welcome.
incredible guest, Mr. Jordan Mechner. Definitely go out and check out his stuff. His stuff is truly incredible. Really, really good stuff. And thank you to all of you guys for hanging in there. Ton, Captain Wayne, Susan, Billy, Joe, Scott, all of y'all. All you people hanging out. Y'all the rock stars. Y'all the real heroes. So thank you guys for hanging out. Lots more giveaways coming. And when I say 2025 is going to be our biggest, greatest, craziest, wildest, awesomest, most incredible year yet, I am underselling it. Drastically underselling it. So lots. You may or may not see CQ in a few movies in little cameos. Just saying. We'll see. We'll see. With that, I'm gonna leave you guys hanging on that. Angry Elf, final word of the night.
What?
Perfect. We'll see you guys
What?
next week. Bye.